Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Let's move on to Africa. Mozambique's second largest city was destroyed last Friday. When I say destroyed, I mean 90% of the buildings were destroyed. There are 2.5 million people on the region affected by the cyclone. It is still raining, the dams are full, the floodgates will have to be opened. These are images from Libération in France, of the cyclone and the consequences. I go back to something I wrote in 2015 about how I cannot help feeling we're like frogs in boiling water. We have created massive interference in the cosmic fine-tuning phenomenon. Here are some more photographs from AFP. Let's move on. It's a terrible tragedy. It's unfortunate. It's just unbelievable. I couldn't resist this Bouteflika statement. This conference's mission is of a sensitive nature as it will take the decisive decisions necessary to produce the quantum leap of our people and particularly the youth are calling for. So he's not budging. The regime appeared to be attempting to ramp up its international support, dispatching new Deputy Prime Minister Ramtane Lamamra to Russia, which counts Algeria as its biggest African weapons customer. Russia's increasing its role. Talk of a write-off of $20 billion. They were recently in Sudan and obviously looking at Algeria as well. 12th of March, I was writing about my road trip to Garissa, and I concluded by saying it's worth noting that US airstrikes in Somalia have, however, flown off the charts, I said. Have a look at this US Africa Command statement on a report by Amnesty International. In that statement, they admit they've conducted 110 airstrikes in Somalia, eliminating more than 800 terrorists, and this is since June 2017. I don't think this pacification, or is it a decapitation strategy, has borne results. And Mail and Guardian have a much better visual for you to see a massive increase in their bombing campaign in Somalia since Trump came into office. More than 100 airstrikes by both drones and manned aircraft since early 2017. I was interviewed by Quartz Africa about Jumia and what makes Africa's largest e-commerce platform African. News of Jumia's filing to go public on the New York Stock Exchange last week is stirring questions about what defines a startup as African. The company runs the largest e-commerce business across Africa with operations in 14 countries, Nigeria, Kenya, Morocco, Egypt and others, incorporated in Germany, has its headquarters in Dubai, central tech team based in Portugal, and as its IPO filing shows, will be listed in New York. Subsidiaries, of course, will pay local taxes. I said there isn't sufficient clarity on this matter. It's basically called African because its business is in Africa, but its ownership and a lot of the infrastructure is not on the continent, I said. Basically, being called an African company because it's based on the continent, which is its primary market. Having been incorporated outside the continent, Jumia's branding as an African company is a public and investor relations exercise being played out at a quite high and interesting level, I said. They want to indigenize their brand. As most successful brands in Africa tend to be adept at indigenization, it's subtle and clever marketing to cloak itself in the righteousness of the continent and seek to dilute the fact that its ownership is not on the continent. I said it's a two-part defensive play. They're trying to capture the first mover advantage ahead of what is surely going to be extremely fierce competition with Alibaba and Amazon. Probably look for one of those two, Amazon or Alibaba, to take a stake in the business. I said, but it's absolutely important to be explicit about a business's identity. 22nd of January last year, I was writing about how e-commerce and home-based deliveries have changed the world from London to China, and I'm certain that same disruption is headed our way. South African all-shares having a good year. It's up 7.8% year to date. Dollar Rand, this is a one-year chart. The Rand looks poised at a precipice. Nigerian all-shares down 1.11%. Ghana sold $3 billion of Eurobonds. Tranches were 7, 12 and 31 years. Shortest tranche 7 7/8%, 12-year at 8.125%, and the 31-year at 8.95%. According to the finance minister, they received $20 billion of orders. We're back to the good old days. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 3.15%. The Ghana currency, of course, remains at a record low, or just close to one, down 10% year to date. This is a lovely photograph of the sunset in Botswana taken by Sea Africa TV. The MTN managing director, Wim van Halleputte, who was deported last month, is back in Uganda and in his office. MTN has agreed to pay $100 million that Museveni was demanding as a license fee renewal, not the $58 million that Uganda CC wanted. Yesterday, Victor Kiprop tweeted, "Dear Kenyans, this is the turnout in Parliament when they're supposed to discuss drought and food security." Says it all. This is surreal. Flying squad discover safe containing, and it's debatable about how much money was in there. First reports were 17 billion shillings, which is $170 million, and then subsequently it's turning out to be around $20 million. Fake currency, Barclays Bank, Queensway branch. Watch the video, you can't make it up. $20 million they're saying now. Yesterday at State House, the President met with the Tourism Wildlife CS, Najib Balala, and the Board of Trustees for Kenya Wildlife Service. Nairobi All Shares up 13.17% this year. NSE 20 is up 2.07% this year. Carbacid reported first half earnings per share declined 36.923%. Turnover up 1%. Operating profit down 10%. Profit before tax down 29%. What happened was they had some equity investments and they've had to take a big impairment, 48 million shillings. Profit after tax down 36.164%, no dividend. Impacted by a substantial drop in the value of investments and equities in the Nairobi Securities Exchange and the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange. I wonder what they're holding. No interim dividend. When I get further clarity, I'll share it with you. Thank you kindly for stopping by.